2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn the beat back.
Hello YouTube, here we are with the latest episode of the Magic Hour. I am the Kingpin of Cinema.
And I am the QB999.
And we are unfortunately your hosts for this show. So, we got the latest,
The spoiler list for Scars of Mirrodin Besieged has just been released. So as usual, we would like to go through. We've chosen some cards to go over with you.
6 cards each, and,
Mostly just showing off what we like about the set and also what's new about this set.
and what we dislike about the set, or what they could have done better, and ultimately, if this is going to be a purchase for you or not. So, before we even get into the set, I just needed to do some nerd fan rage over one particular card. Not because it's a bad card, it's just because they ruined one of my favorite characters from the novels. See, I'm all about the novels. I'm all about the lore and the history and the learning of all the worlds and magic. And the card is, if I'm saying this name right, forgive me if I get it wrong, Galisa the Traitor. Basically, the card's fine. It's a green, black. It has Death Touch, First Strike, and basically whenever you do damage to a creature or player, where you kill a creature, you get to return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Decent, for 3 mana, you're getting a pretty decent creature. Now, what I don't like about this is that in the original novels, Galisa was the main character. She was the hero who had all this horrific shit happen to her. But now I guess, we had to bring her back, and we had to ruin her by killing her off, making her into a zombie, and now she looks like the Queen of Blades Kerrigan from StarCraft 2. It's like, leave her alone!
Anything having to do with nerd culture, you change one thing and you're going to get people bitching about it. Anything you do, there's going to be nerd
They should have just left her alone. If she couldn't have had a happy ending, they couldn't have left her alone, had a happy ending and just be done with it. Yeah, we could do more stuff on Mirrodin, but we had to bring her back, and then now I guess she's dead and she's evil.
Oh, man, change your tampon already. Alright, get going on your list.
Alright, so number 1 on my list, some of the cards that we pick are what we consider to be good, and what might potentially be considered good in tournaments, but mostly it's what we think is good as casual players. So don't take this the wrong way, this is just personal preference. If you guys want to put out your top lists on the comment section, please do.
We love hearing other people's inputs.
Yeah. My number 1 is Shimmer Mir. I always want to say Meyer, but I guess the correct pronunciation is Mir.
Like I had it.
So I'll just call it Meyer. What he does is, he has Flash himself, but then he gives all artifacts Flash. Which can be good. Which is, I think, is pretty
I can definitely see
decent.
that as being a good tournament play card, because people like to play the control deck, so you just wait to see what your opponent does and react to that. So having all your artifacts have Flash, especially in an artifact deck, will definitely give you a pretty good edge.
Yeah, and so Shimmer Meyer, he's pretty good. You made the list, so I like him. I'm all about the Mir. I'm all about the Myers.
And I see you mix him together with Blightsteel Colossus, who's just a guy that'll fuck you up in one hit, no matter what your life total is.
He does cost a lot. He costs 12, and he's 11/11 Infect Trample, and if he dies, he doesn't go to the graveyard. He gets shuffled back in.
And he's indestructible too.
Yeah, and he's indestructible. So
he's a one-hit kill. If you just make him unblockable, it's game over.
Yeah, 10 poison counters, you're done. He's 11. In fact.
All right, my first card. Well, it's not just a card. It's a whole set of cards, one for each color They're all called Sun Zenith. Each one does a different thing for each color. I think blue makes you draw cards. Black makes you put counters on creatures.
-1 counters on your opponent's creatures.
Yeah. There's one for each color, and they each do something different. The thing about these cards is, once you use them, they all always get shuffled back into your library, so you always have a chance to use them again.
Yeah, and the one that's the one I really want is the yellow one.
Yellow?
Yeah, white. Sun Zenith, where you get to put out a bunch of 2/2 cat creature.
Crack? Crack horse?
I can't talk right now. Leave me alone. Cat creature tokens, and like it costs 3 and then X. So if you have a lot of mana, you can get a ton of creatures out.
All of these also have an X cost in their costing cast. So you're gonna get it back, guaranteed, and also you can use that at the beginning of the game for a small effect, and if you get it back later on, you'll use it again for a bigger effect than before. So it's bound to grow with the game.
Yeah, so it's like almost any point in the game, it's going to be useful at some point.
So that's why I decided to talk about the Sun Zenith.
Yeah. My next one on the list is from White. It's Victory's Herald, an Angel. It's a 4/4, and it costs 6. Or 7.
I believe 6.
I'm 90% sure it costs 6. But basically what this does, when it attacks, all the creatures that are attacking with it get flying and lifelink. And that's pretty damn good.
Alright, that leads me into my next card. Hero of Bladehold. It's another white creature. I think it's like a 4/4. Whenever it attacks, it has 2 white soldier creature tokens appear with it attacking. The thing about this card, though, is it has a new ability called Battle Cry. Now, if you remember from the Alara set, there was an ability, Exalted, that whenever a creature attacked alone, it got +1/+0 for each creature that had Exalted. Battle Cry kind of works the opposite. Whenever that creature attacks, all the other creatures get +1/+0. So whereas Exalted, it was beneficial to attack with just one creature, with Battle Cry, it's beneficial to attack with more. So, and the more with Battle Cry, the bigger that they're all going to get boosted up together.
Yeah, it is the opposite of Exalted, and honestly, it's a lot better than Exalted, in my opinion, because you're going to be attacking with more than one creature, most likely. I mean, you would want to do the maximum amount of damage.
With Exalted, for me, the only time really to attack with one creature is when you just have one on the field and your opponent has nothing to really block with, or if you have a creature that is unblockable.
Yeah.
That was the only times really for me that Exalted really came into play.
Alright, cool. On my number 3 is Sangromancer, and if you're like me and you have a vampire deck, you would love to have this creature because it is really good. It costs 4. It's a 4/4 flying. Anytime your opponent loses a creature, you gain 3 life. Anytime they discard a card, you gain 3 life.
Well, if something of theirs dies, they lose 3 life, and then discard. You gain 3 life.
Okay, yeah. So either way, you're winning with this creature. If you have a black that's all about the discard, you're gaining life. If you have a black deck that's all about the killing creatures, they're losing life. And if you have a vampire deck, you're more than likely doing both. So that card's awesome, and I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Vampires are gay.
Vampires are awesome.
My next card is called Corrupted Conscience. This is basically just mind control. Costs the same, does the same, but with the added effect of giving the creature an enchant's infect.
Yeah.
I like this card because I have a deck that's all about taking control of people's creatures and their stuff. I'll probably show that deck off later on, but this deck, it's all about controlling your opponent's stuff. Their strength becomes your strength. And this card, I kind of like it and I don't. I like that they gave it the added effect of giving the creature infect, but I don't like that it's just kind of a remake of Mind Control. It's the exact same thing for the exact same cost.
Yeah, they got like 4 different cards now that all do the same thing. It's just that this one costs the same as all the other ones, but it just gives it an effect.
There's Mind Control, and then there's also Persuasion, I believe, which both do the same exact thing, both cost 5.
And there's one that's in Ravnica that does the same thing, and there's one in...
I think that was Persuasion.
That was the one with, like, you had Tezzeret sleeping and the guy was like casting a spell on him.
Oh, that one. Yes.
Yeah, and then there's one in
Dream Leash, I believe.
Yeah, that was Dream Leash. And there's one in Odyssey that costs 5 and control. Personally, I like control magic because it costs 4.
Anyway, so that's my number 3 pick.
My number 4 pick is Thopter Assembly.
Now we're getting to the artifacts, the main attraction of this set.
So Thopter Assembly, it costs 6. It's 6/6. We're 4/4. But basically, when it's out in play, on your next upkeep, if you don't have any other Thopters out in play, it goes back to your hand, and you get 5 1/1 flying Thopter creature tokens. Oh, so yeah, it's a 5/5. So I was wrong. I was right the third time. So, why is that awesome? It's because you get 5 1/1 flying Thopter tokens.
In that same turn, you can put it right back out.
Yeah, and you're just like, well, it's back out. Now I got 6 flying creatures.
So basically, it becomes like this. If you can keep that alive just for one turn, you basically get a 10/10 creature that's kind of cut in half.
You know, there's so many ways that this can be useful. I never mind the flying defense or adding more artifacts into play for, like, that one ability where it costs less for how many artifacts you have.
Affinity for artifacts.
Affinity for artifacts would go amazingly well with that. But, I mean, you can, like, sacrifice those 1/1s to duo abilities. You can sacrifice them all where you just have them, there's just blocking defense. I mean, there's so many possibilities with this card. It's going to be... I think it's going to be one of those things that a lot of people are going to want over time when they figure out more strategies to use it with.
My next card is called Bone Horde. It's a new equipment card, which also shows off one of the new abilities called Living Weapon.
Which is awesome.
When an artifact equipment comes into play, usually it's just there. It doesn't do anything until you equip it onto something. Living Weapons come into play. You get a 0/0 black germ token into play, and the equipment automatically gets attached to that. So right as the equipment comes into play, it's automatically attached to something. You don't really have to use the mana to attach it to anything else.
So it's ready to go the moment it comes out in play.
Pretty much. I mean, if you do remove the equipment onto something else, your little germ token dies, unless you have some way of buffing it up, which I don't know why you would care. But it's an interesting concept that if you don't have anything else out, you can still use an equipment card to save your ass. Bone Hoarder is a particularly good one because it gives the creature +X/+X, where X is all the creatures in all graveyards. So if you are black, or if you're fighting against a black recursion, sometimes that could be pretty useful.
Yeah. Honestly, I really like the Living Weapon.
It's pretty new. It's innovative. We haven't seen anything really like this before, or at least I haven't.
I haven't either. And it's thinking outside the box. It's like, well, now we can use this equipment stuff without having to pay the. You can still switch it around, but I mean, it's ready to go the moment it comes out, which is what I like. All right, my number 5 is probably going to be the one where most people are going to want.
This is going to be the $60 price tag card for this set.
Or more. Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. And let me be, just for a moment say, we called it, that they were going to reprint this guy. I mean, there was a couple of things we called, like how their Phyrexians were going to be more in this set.
Yeah. Now, this is what we went with, using it with Thopter Assembly. And you'll see why when we talk about his abilities.
Yeah, his first ability, which adds the +1 counter, is you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and any artifact cards.
Well, not any. You choose one and you put it into your hand.
Yeah, you choose one and the rest go on the bottom of the deck. His minus ability, you make target artifact into a 5/5 creature.
It's like his original form, big ability, except it's just one creature instead of all of them.
Yeah, it's more specific and it's not a world effect for yourself.
Now,
his main one, which only costs 4, which you can use turn 2.
He comes into play with 3 counters, and his big ability costs 4.
You basically, target opponent loses X life, you gain X life to the number times 2 the number of artifacts you control.
So if you have Thopter Assembly, you bring it out, you get 5, you play it back again that same turn. That's 6 artifacts right there.
Yeah.
So and you use his ability, that's 12 life instantly right there, that your opponent loses and that you gain.
That's a 12 life swing.
And at that point, you're bound to have more artifacts in play. All you need is at least 10 artifacts. Hopefully your opponent hasn't gained any life, and you can just one-shot him with that.
Yeah. He's insanely good, and considering that you can get his ability off turn 2, it's just like it's all the better. And his first 2 abilities are really good as well.
Yeah. The only limitation about him is that he's dual-colored.
Yeah, this is the only other dual-colored...
Yeah, there's 2 cards in this set that are dual-colored. Glissa and Tezzeret. So we're thinking they're probably going to do even more in the next set, probably.
Which I'm not... Well, we'll get into that after we get through the list.
Alright. My number 5 pick. I chose this one for a specific reason we'll get into after we go through the rest of the cards. Phyrexian Hydra. Now, what was the previous card from Ravnica that whenever... It's kind of like the opposite of this one.
I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember, but anyway. This card, it's a 7/7, I believe. It costs about 6 or so. And whenever it's dealt damage, you prevent that damage. But any damage that's prevented, you put that many -1/-1 counters onto this creature.
Oh, are you talking about Fighter Hydra?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like the opposite of Fighter...
Fighter Hydra?
Whatever that card is. I can't remember.
It's
basically,
confused.
like I said, I'll really talk about why I put that one on this list, though, after we go through the rest of the list. So why don't you go with your number 6 pick?
Number 6, since I'm all about the Meyer Turbine.
Which, by the way, we noticed the art of it is basically just a Meyer Matrix. Just close up.
Just like closer up. It's not even a turbine. It's just a fucking Matrix card. Like a closer view of it. But, okay, so you tap it, you get a 1/1 mirror token. You tap 5 mirror and tap it, search your deck for any mirror card, and put it into play.
So this will definitely work good with looking for galvanizers for an infinite mana
Battle
combo.
Spheres.
Battlesphere. You know, so if you have a mirror deck, that's a must-have.
Yeah.
Because if there's specific... Mirror are very specific with what you need to win. And with that card, you can get what you need pretty easily.
Pretty easily, and I think it's awesome. So that's my top 6.
My last one is Phyrexian Vat Mother. It's one of the new Infect cards. It's a pretty strong creature. I think it's a 4/5.
It's a 4/5 that costs 4. It has Infect, but there is a downside to it.
During each of your upkeeps, I believe, you yourself as the controller get a poison counter.
Yeah.
Now again, we'll start talking about what we liked about the set overall, though. To be honest, what we thought of the set was kind of disappointing. A lot of the stuff we've seen before. This is where my pick for Phyrexian Hydra comes into play. We've seen that kind of card before. A better card, but we've kind of seen it before. And with Phyrexian Vat Mother, they still have Infect, but they didn't really do anything else with it. They just kind of maybe gave more creatures the ability itself.
Yeah, more stuff has the Infect ability. I think Vat Mother is good, since it costs 4. I mean, hell, 2 mana and a Dark Ritual, you got it out on turn 2, ready to hit him.
It has the potential to deal 4 poison counters to a player.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I think the set was a little underwhelming for me.
Yeah, because when we first saw the spoiler list, there was just not a whole lot that popped out to us. There were not too much that we saw we go, we gotta have that card. I mean, there were a couple fun cards, like
Thopter Assembly is one of those really fun cards.
And Blightsteel Colossus. There was also the new Sword of Feast and Famine.
Feast and Famine. And so I had a hard time picking cards, because there was a lot of cards that I wanted to talk about. Like Phyrexian Crusader. And there was the white version of that Crusader. I mean, those are pretty good cards.
But just overall, there were a lot of cards that we've seen before. There's a green card that costs 4 that can be used to destroy all artifacts. There's a card in Eventide that costs 4, either green or white, and it destroys all artifacts and enchantments, which I believe could be better. And also you gain 2 life for each one destroyed, too.
Yeah. So, in the end, would this be something I would buy a box of? No.
Probably not.
But it is worth picking up a few packs, or if you're into buying individual cards, like the specific ones you need, Yeah, it is worth it for that.
But as a whole, the set is kind of small. There's just not a lot there that we see really adds anything to the game.
So, I'm like definitely at this point I've decided I'm not gonna buy a box of this because it's too much money for not a whole lot of stuff that I want.
Battlecry, it's an interesting ability, but it's basically just the opposite of Exalted. A good step, but it's not brand spanking new.
And there's not, and all the battle cries are just +1 and +0. There's nobody that does like something unique with it, like battle cry, everything gains vigilance, or battle cry, double strike. I mean, it's all just +1 +0. Yeah, it's good for like early on, but like late game, is that something that's really going to change the game? I mean,
with Exalted, you had creatures that whenever they attacked, well, actually, you kind of do with the Angel. That gives all other attacks.
But that's not battle cry.
Well, remember, it's not actually part of the ability, but there are creatures that kind of do that.
It's similar to battle cry, but it's not an official battle cry. Everything gains flying and lifelink. It's just everything attacking with it. It's not designated as a battle cry ability.
Kind of. I don't think it matters though.
It's similar, but it's different.
Anyway, so as far as the set goes, it's just not spectacular. It's okay. We've seen better. We recommend buy a couple packs, try and find specific cards that you want from the set before really going into it.
Yeah. And as always, make your own opinions of it. Post comments. We like to debate. We'll debate with you about the set.
And if not, we'll come and kill you.
Before we go, any predictions for the next set?
Like I said, I think it'll be more multicolored.
Which I hope they don't do. Because I don't like I don't like colored artifacts. I'll tell you that right now. I hated colored artifacts, when Alara did it, and I hope they don't do that here, and I hope we don't have a lot of multicolored shit for this one. Yeah, Mirrodin did have artifacts that had colored abilities like Sunburst, but there were artifacts first, and then that ability was built into it. So you weren't like restricted by what colors you paid for it.
Another thing I'm predicting is that with most sets where you have warring factions, usually the factions get merged together in the last set, in a way. So you're probably going to have creatures maybe with Battlecry and Infect. Because Battlecry is the Mirrodin ability, Infect is the Phyrexian ability.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have mix and match in there in the next set, is my predictions.
Yeah, and I have no idea what the new ability is, but hopefully it's something cool to really get our...
And because Tezzeret got put into the set, I'm guessing we might see Nicobolus in the last one.
Boy, I don't know if I can support that claim. It would be awesome if we got a new Nicobolus card, but I think it's too soon. I think that would probably be next set.
And who knows, maybe you'll start seeing more characters from the novel.
Well, it'd be cool if we got...
That they ruin.
Hey, it would be cool if we got Corrin back. Get a new Corrin Planeswalker card. That would be great!
No, they're going to ruin him and make him a zombie.
Yeah, they'll probably ruin his ass, too.
Anyway, that was the Magic Hour. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again to talk about new decks, new news that comes out, all the new sets.
Mm-hmm.
So keep watching, and once again, if you don't like it...
Okay.